Welcome to the Michael Singer podcast, presented by Sounds True, in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information about Michael Singer's work, access to all prior episodes, and information about upcoming releases, we invite you to join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com.
Jagrative, Jam Masters, the most amazing, meaningful topic that anyone can ever discuss, ever, is consciousness. Why? Let's start there. If everything else in the universe, everything exists, but nothing is aware of it, it has no meaning. You could debate whether it has meaning, but you're not there to have the debate. There must be this thing called awareness. I am aware that you're sitting there. I am aware that there are atoms. I'm aware that there are stars. Well, what if you're not? What does that mean? What if there's no awareness? There's not this stuff called awareness, something that knows that it knows that it knows. That's what consciousness is. Then nothing has meaning. Nothing. Nothing at all has meaning. And if no one is conscious, and no animals are conscious, there's no consciousness, then there's no awareness. If there's no awareness, nothing exists. The most important thing in the universe is consciousness. They say in science, if you want to have a scientific experiment valid, you isolate variables because it's too complicated with so much. How do you do that? You remove something that's there, you remove it, and you see what changes. And you put it back. Oh, you have a repeatable experiment. You're there, everything's there, consciousness, objects of consciousness, all of them are there. Take out consciousness, nothing's there. Consciousness is the most meaningful thing in the whole universe. Without it, nothing has meaning. It doesn't matter what you believe, there's no beliefs, there are no thoughts. Why? You're conscious of your thoughts. What if you weren't conscious of your thoughts? What if there's 700 billion thoughts flying around, but you're not aware of any of them? It's meaningless. Okay, that's the foundation of spirituality. That's the foundational understanding of everything in the universe of all time, all space, and everything. If you are not conscious of it, it doesn't exist. If you're conscious of it, it does exist. It's true, there are lots of things that exist that you're not conscious of, and we're going to talk about why. Okay? I mean, you're only conscious of what comes into your senses. But lots of stuff's not coming into your senses, right? How much? Everything else. 800 billion, zillion, quillion, trillion things are going on that you're not conscious of. But you are conscious of the stuff you're experiencing. And you're conscious of your thoughts. How many thoughts are you not conscious of? Well, take 8.3 billion and multiply it times billions, and that's how many thoughts you're not conscious of. Everybody else is. But they are conscious of their thoughts. They're conscious of what comes into their senses. They're conscious of their emotions. So there is consciousness. Right now we'll talk, let's get serious about it. Right now, what is your consciousness focused on? If I look to the left, I'm conscious of that. If I look to the right, I'm conscious of that. If I look up, look down, whatever. What are you conscious of at any given moment? You're conscious of the thoughts that you're having, whether you like it or not. You're conscious of the emotions that you're having. Otherwise, you wouldn't be having them. Or you would be having them, but not know you're having them. I don't know how to get across to you. What's the difference between not having them and not knowing you're having them? Nothing. If you suppress them, you know they're down there. They keep coming back up. You're conscious of it. That's why they call it the subconscious. Okay? You're still conscious. It's just buried. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you're not conscious of it, it might as well not exist. It's nowhere in the universe, has no effect on you. When you were 5 years old, 3 blocks away, not to mention 5 miles away, there was a household and things were taking place. What effect did it have on you? Absolutely nothing, because you weren't conscious of it. What if you happened to be visiting your friend that was in that household and something was going on? It affected your life. Consciousness is everything, period. So he was shown the absolute. If you're not conscious of it, it has no meaning. If you're conscious of it, it has total meaning. And that's what we're going to talk about. So you are conscious of your thoughts, you're conscious of your emotions, and you're conscious of what comes in through your senses. And you're not conscious of the rest. So what's the ratio between what you're conscious of and what you're not conscious of? Very funny. You're not conscious of 700 billion, zillion, quillion things at any given moment, but you're conscious of the stupid little thing that happens to be in front of you or going on inside your mind. I would call it statistically insignificant. That ratio is very small, isn't it? Okay? But still, you are conscious. Now that's so important. Why? You have selectively focused awareness. Okay? Right now, if I asked you to, and I hope you don't have to struggle to do it, can you see a galaxy in your mind? Andromeda galaxy. You know what they look like. Can you see the galaxy floating out there? You're now conscious of something very large, something very expansive. Have you ever seen the picture of the deep space picture? Ultra deep? It's like every dot in the picture is a galaxy. So you look at that. Your mind can contemplate that. Your mind is capable of holding the concept of there being trillions of galaxies. That shows you that you're conscious of something very large. Are you capable of getting caught in an emotion? Are you capable of having a pain in your heart that doesn't go away and you're always conscious of it? It's bothering you a lot. What is the relationship of the size between ultra deep and that pain in your heart? You're conscious of both. So it shows that your consciousness, I can be very careful with words. In the 60s, we talked about expanding consciousness. I want to expand consciousness. Consciousness doesn't need to be expanded. It takes you 1 second to allow your awareness to encompass objects that are very large, such as galaxies. I don't have to do that. I would bring it down to earth. If you go out during the day and you look out on the fields out here, they're beautiful. You see all kinds of deer and all kinds of things. What if you had pain in your heart when you came out here? You would not see the rest. You'd be completely focused on what's going on, right? So consciousness is expansive, infinitely expansive, except that you contract it to what you're conscious of. Now, that is the main point I want to make here tonight. Do you understand that? It's not like you have to expand your consciousness. You have to stop contracting your consciousness. Do you understand the difference? And the only difference between your state of consciousness and an enlightened master is that they are not limiting the expanse of their consciousness to their thoughts, their emotions, or what's coming through their senses. Well, if I don't limit my object, the keyword object of consciousness, right? There's consciousness and object of consciousness. If I don't limit my object of consciousness to something small, then I'm bigger, all right? It's like, what are you doing? There's a whole universe out there. Why are you limiting your consciousness to focus on that silly little thing? So we have expanded consciousness. It is totally expansive. But we focus it on small, very small things. And that is the whole key to spirituality. To be able to stop constricting. So I almost said expand. I don't want to say expand. Stop constricting your awareness of being to something very, very small, such as yourself. And that is what the word selflessness means. Selflessness is when you are not focusing on yourself. So that basically consciousness is that which exists. You are conscious. It's not a question of whether you are conscious. It's a question of what are you conscious of. Period. Christ said, "My Father and I are one." That's what that means. My consciousness encompasses the universe, encompasses the creator of creation. I am one with that. That is my consciousness. One of my favorite, I don't read the Bible. I read it once, so don't think I'm a Bible quoter. Okay? I'm a nice Jewish yogi, but I figured once when I moved out here to be alone to meditate, I should probably read the Bible. All right? So I read it once. And the words keep coming back to me. There's one thing that Christ said. It was at the Last Supper, and he's telling his disciples, I ain't going to be around much longer. Remember that part? To which they said, no, we want to go with you. We want to go with you. His words were exactly, where I go, you cannot follow. Oh my God, there's a yogi talking. Why? He's going out. You can't follow. You can, but you won't. You understand that? If you die to be, do you understand what every one of his words mean? If you die to be reborn, meaning if you stop focusing on yourself with your tiny little thoughts and your tiny little emotions that are all about you and what happened to you, they're so small. Look what happened to you in the past compared to what happened in the past. I wonder which one's bigger. Einstein talked about time-space continuum. That there's a continuum, that every dot through time and space, there's something going on everywhere throughout it. How much of it had to do with you? Nothing. How much do you think had to do with you? Everything. Have I just defined ego? That is ego. The fact that your consciousness only cares about your little past. People don't like when I say that. Ready? I'm going to say it right to you. Your past is meaningless. Your past is meaningless compared to everything else that happened in the past that you didn't experience. You want to sit there and focus on this little tiny stuff that you happened to experience? Why is it more important than everything else that was going on? Because I experienced it. Ego. That defines ego. I experienced it. Therefore, it's more important than what you experienced. Is it more important? Come on. Every single thing in creation is a thing in creation. The events that happen to you in your life just happened to be the ones that you were in front of when they happened. This person yelled at you when you were little. They're not yelling at you. They're just yelling. A person's yelling. You just happen to be standing there. If you had looked the other way or not been there, if you had been late for breakfast, it wouldn't have happened. And you think that because you were there, it has more meaning than, how do I get this across to you? Is it true that what you experience is more meaningful than everything else? Why is it more important? It could be anything. Look to the left, you'll experience something different. Be 2 seconds late, you'll experience something different. Be lost in your thoughts when someone's saying something terrible to you. You don't even hear it. It has no effect on you. Things exist. Your consciousness gets focused, completely focused, limited, not expanded, contracted down to where you're only conscious of you. What happened to me is more important than anything else. Why? Because I experienced it. You could have experienced anything. I can't even talk about it. Take the best experience you ever had. That's very nice. I'm glad you had the experience. It could have been anything else. Anything could be anything. But just because you experienced that moment, you married it. You owned it. You said, this, oh my God, this is more important than anything else, both negative and positive. What happened to me, they love telling you. You don't want to sit down and have someone tell you. You can't imagine what happened to me when I was a child. I guess if you're a therapist, you better listen. And you spend the next hour, and then my mother did this, and my father, I can't believe what happened, and then this happened, and I got sent home without my dinner, I haven't eaten for 3 days. I was 5 years old. I'm 55 telling this story. Why in the world would you have that going on inside of you 50 years later? What a silly thing to do. You could be experiencing anything, but you're saying to your consciousness, which is very great, your consciousness, don't experience anything else. Focus on this and tell it in great detail because it's really important what happened to me. Who's willing to listen? Is it not true? That is what ego is. It is consciousness focused on your thoughts about your past, your thoughts about the future, which are nothing compared to everything. How small did you make yourself? That's what I wanted to talk about. How small did you make yourself? You're sitting on a little planet, I tell you that all the time. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. And on that tiny little planet, there's a lot of stuff going on every second. And what matters is you. Now you see ego? That's what matters. Me, this little dot, this little nothing, sitting on this little planet for a few years. The planet will be here for 4.5 billion years. And you're here for what? 80, 90? But it's important what happens to me. You will wake up someday and realize it's important what happens to you because you decided to focus your consciousness on that. A great master, we're talking about, the picture of these great enlightened beings. What does that mean? Someone was asking me, right? Just a regular person showing around the temple. But he was very open. And he said, what does it mean to be a master, to be enlightened? All right? They have ceased to focus their consciousness on themselves. What happens if you cease to focus your consciousness on yourself? Your consciousness is not restricted any longer. I told you, if you go out to the field and you look at something and a snake catches your attention, then that's all you're experiencing. It's not all there is. It's all you're experiencing. What if everything's the same? What if everything's the same? What if anger and love are emotions that are coming up inside and they wash over you and pass through, and then you experience the next thing you experience? What if a person you see you like a lot and you enjoy the feeling of their presence, and then they're not there, meaning they went to work, whatever? Are you okay? No. No, I am not okay, because my consciousness is still holding on to the thought and feeling of the presence of that person. I usually use negative things. I purposely use a positive one this time. Do you do that? So now you're missing the rest of what's happening. You don't even experience what's happening to you. You're fixated on something you held. That's what be here now means. That's what it means to be in the now. It means my consciousness is not being drawn down to my thoughts, my past experiences. It's just there experiencing reality. It's experiencing what's ever happening. And I'm fine with that. That's a master. I'm fine with it. I'm not judging it. I'm not separating like from dislike. You've heard that. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. But you all have so much trouble with that. You think, I don't have preferences. Why will I like anything? You will like everything the same. But what fun is that? How about being into ecstasy? That's what you feel all the time. There's waves of ecstasy pouring over your being under all times, period, no matter what's happening. Now go deal with the world, because you won't have too much trouble. Well, isn't that selfish? No, anyone near you will be getting that joy. That's what happened with Christ. That's what happened with Buddha. Some of the great ones. They were liberated. They didn't narrow their thoughts and emotions, their aura, and all of that down to the stupid little, oh, how small is this thing? Will you please smile? All right? If you in truth are capable of experiencing the expansiveness of the galaxies, of everything, your consciousness is not limited to what you're looking at. It's not limited at all, by the way. And that's what enlightenment is. Your consciousness is no longer being drawn down to something. It's expanded out completely. All right? I don't like expanded. It has ceased to constrict itself. And that's when my father and I are one. And that's when these great merged states are the same. There's something, I used to read it for Christmas, I probably will, in the Bible, under James, I forget where. He's talking about what Christ said. And he said, Christ said to them, may you know the magic of oneness as I know the oneness. May you be one in me as I am one in you. And we're all one, like 15 times it says in that paragraph. Because he's merged. He's one. He can come down and be this, but he's not this. If I'm out of the field and I'm looking at everything, I'm seeing the beauty of it all, I can still focus on a rose, right? But I don't get fixated. I don't only focus on a rose and then I want that rose. It was so beautiful or so broken, so ugly. Do you understand that? You've sat there and said, my consciousness is about the object of consciousness. Instead of my consciousness, it's about the essence of consciousness. And that is what yoga is all about. There's a book called Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Ever hear of it? It's one of the most revered yogic writings. Okay, I'm not talking about the Gita or Bible or something like that, all right? I'm just talking about the philosophy of yoga. And in that, Patanjali is very specific about what it is where you're caught and what it is to be liberated. Yoga is about liberation, about merger, about oneness. And he starts with this word called pratyahara. Ever heard that word? Pratyahara. It's of course, a Sanskrit word. What does it mean? He says, Patanjali says, if you're going to meditate, I'm going to teach you how to meditate. He said, first, you have to achieve pratyahara. Without achieving pratyahara, you will never achieve meditation. You don't know anything about it. What is pratyahara? Withdrawal from the senses. What does that mean? Right now, the outside world distracts your consciousness, does it not? It's raining, it's night, it's cold, it's hot, the person is tall, they're short. Consciousness is being distracted by every single thing that's coming in through your senses. While that's happening, don't kid yourself about meditation, because that's not meditation. That's being distracted by the objects of consciousness. So, what is pratyahara? The ability to withdraw your consciousness from being distracted by the outside world. How do you do that? Well, maybe you've meditated. Maybe you've gone deep enough to realize that, by the way, you all have achieved pratyahara. When you go to sleep, your consciousness is withdrawn from the senses. Somebody could walk in your room and talk to you, touch you, and you don't even know it's happening. Is your consciousness still there? In the dream world it is. You're having dreams. You're having experiences. You can have emotions. It's the same consciousness. It's just aware of something other than what's coming in through your senses. It's very important. I don't teach yoga like that, but I'm teaching you something very deep. You understand that? You withdraw your consciousness from the senses every single time you go to sleep. How do you know? Because you're still conscious. Well, what do you mean? How do I know I'm conscious? Because you'll wake up and say, boy, did I have a dream. That was unbelievable. How do you know? Because I was conscious of it. It was an object of consciousness. I saw this whole thing going on, and I was aware of it. Is it the same awareness when you wake up? Well, you do. You say, I did this and I did that. You have the same concept of your being when you're asleep as when you're awake. I got married. Oh my God, I had 3 children, and one of them died. It was so sad. What are you doing? You're telling the same story you tell your therapist, except that was in a dream. But your experience, the consciousness that experienced it, is the same. Does anybody understand that? I'm not teaching you this. I'm asking, do you? A spiritual teacher does not teach. They help you realize what you already know. I don't teach you anything. Did I have to teach you that you're there in your dreams? Are you there in your dreams? Do you experience your dreams? When you wake up, do you remember them? Is there not a continuity of consciousness between you're asleep and you're awake? It's the same you, isn't it? Sometimes you have a dream that's so real, years later you forget whether it was real or not. Okay? It's just all the same stuff. One is the world is coming in through your senses from the outside world, making an impression on your consciousness. The other is your mind is creating thoughts that create an inner world, and you have fun with it. Some people love to sleep. They just like get away, but they have dreams. They have experiences. All right. So pratyahara is not some weird thing. Now the question is, can you achieve pratyahara while you're awake? I mean, I don't teach meditation. If you go to a Zen center and you're meditating and you fall asleep, you get smacked with the Zen stick, all right? You're not supposed to go to sleep. Meditation is not sleeping. So you have to be awake, aware, but not aware of the outside world. So that's what meditation starts to be. You go into a place inside that's quiet, you're not being distracted by the outside world, and you have achieved pratyahara. Is that meditation? No, not according to Patanjali. Patanjali's strict. He says there's another state. Once you have achieved pratyahara, withdrawal from the senses, which means what's withdrawing from the senses? Not the objects, they're still there. You're withdrawing your awareness from them. Okay, so now I've withdrawn my awareness. I got quiet enough. I'm not being distracted by the outside world. I'm centered inside enough. Now what? Now you achieve what's called dharana. Next Sanskrit word. What does dharana mean? Complete one-pointed focus on one thing. So now inside, you're sitting and you're meditating, okay, I've withdrawn from my senses. What happens? I'm in my mind. I got thoughts swimming around in there. I got emotions swimming around in there. What if you take your concentration? What is concentration? What is concentration? Concentrated, focused consciousness. When you concentrate, What are you concentrating? You're concentrating the focus of your awareness. Concentrate on that candle. What does that mean? Take your awareness and focus it on one pointedness. That is what dharana means. One pointed concentration. So now you've withdrawn from your senses and you've taken that whole inner world that's so scattered and focused it. It doesn't matter if you focus on a mantra, focus on a candle, you focus on your breathing. They teach that, don't they? All of that is trying to teach you dharana, for the withdrawal from your senses and then focus on the breath. Just breathe in and out. Just focus on your breath. Focus on your breath. What's that got to do with anything? Everything. Focus on your breath. No. Focus on your breath instead of your mind. How's that? That's one pointed focus. It doesn't matter what you focus on, but you withdraw from your senses so you're not distracted, and then focus all of your awareness. We're talking about consciousness still. Focus all of your awareness one pointedly, and a whole thing happens. You enter a portal of silence, you're not scattered. Your awareness is powerful stuff. You can be aware of all kinds of things. You've now taken all your awareness and focused it down to one pointedly. Is that meditation? No. The next stage is called dhyan. There's 3 stages. Very simple. What is dhyan? Now that you have not being distracted by the outside world, you're inside, but you're not being distracted by scattered thoughts and emotions and energy inside. They're one-pointed focused. That is not meditation. That's concentration. Okay? Now, center that concentration, your focus of consciousness, back on consciousness itself. That is meditation. I'm back there. I gathered the energy down to one point. Now focus on what's back there. Focus on the source of consciousness. Where'd you come from? You're in there. You're watching your thoughts. You're feeling your emotions. Who are you? Who are you? Not what are you feeling. Who are you that's feeling it? Not what are you thinking. Who are you that's thinking it? Do you see the difference? We're back to what is consciousness. Well, he just showed you the deep traditional yogic structure of how to be enlightened, how to return to the source of consciousness. Now that you're not getting distracted, you brought your attention down to one pointedness. It's independent, it's not personal, nothing happening, you're just focusing on something. And then you move that focus back to the source of that focus, the source of consciousness. And what happens is, bam! You're going to describe it the first time we went into that state. They said, I was there, I had my body, I was in the room with my master and different things happening. And then all of a sudden, woof, I merged with the whole universe. My body was the galaxies. Not I was here looking at my mind that was thinking of the galaxies. My body, my sense of being merged with everything in creation. I felt I was moving at the speed of light in every direction, everywhere. Okay? That is a state of samadhi. And he went out and merged with that and felt what's called Satchidananda, eternal conscious ecstasy. That is what's back there. That is who you are. That is what's talked about the garden before you fell. Adam and Eve were just experiencing everything, but in ecstasy. They were just totally lost in God's ecstasy. And then they started focusing on themselves. That is the whole story about Adam in the garden. God's walking around. Adam, where the heck are you? Adam, I'm hiding. Whoa, we were merged. We're just one consciousness merged. Who's hiding from who? I'm hiding from God. You started identifying yourself as a body instead of as the consciousness that's experiencing the body, right? And to give credence more to that, when God said, Adam, where are you? He said, here am I. And Adam stood up. I was hiding from you. Oh my God, how do you hide from the universe? And God said, I'm paraphrasing, of course. God said to Adam, what is that around your waist? Really, it did. Not like that, but what is that around your waist? What did Adam say? A fig leaf. To which God said, I put fig leaves on fig trees. What's it doing being around your waist? The most deepest understanding of spirituality is right in the next sentence. I was naked. Whoa, what does that mean? Everything's naked. The plants are naked. The animals are naked. The sky is naked. Come on. What do you mean I was naked? Your consciousness fell down to identify with this little dinky thing down there called my body, my thoughts, my emotions. And that was a fall from the garden. Do you see it? You fell from the garden. And what does it say your life is going to be like now that you fell from the garden? You must work by the sweat of your brow to be okay. Anybody know anything about that? As opposed to, I'm merged with the universe and I'm enjoying experiencing the experiences that are coming at me and to me and through me. They all flow right through, yin, yang, good, bad, right, wrong, nothing. It's just all of it. I'm not going to quote it again, but I often quote the Gita from here. And Krishna says, Arjuna, just as all the rivers and streams of the earth pour into the ocean and leave it as it found it, it doesn't overflow its bounds. You hear me? They just all merge into the oneness. That is where the great ones end up. That's the merger. That's the oneness. But notice all I have talked about so far is consciousness. The problem, we don't talk about consciousness. We talk about objects of consciousness. You should see what I saw. Oh my God, it was so terrible or wonderful. Who's this I that has limited their awareness instead of it being aware of everything? It's aware of me. The Beatles, I didn't know. I'm a very big Beatles fan. Of course, I come from the 60s, right? There was a song the Beatles wrote, I didn't know till some years ago, called I, Me, Mine. I, Me, Mine. All the time, I, me, mine, all the time. They're singing about this stupid ego, right? That's all that's going on. All that's going on, I, me, mine. What is I, me, mine? I am little. I am so small. I don't care that 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun, and I don't even take a 0.001 of the Earth for a few years. I am what matters. I, me, mine. And that's the definition of ego? Isn't that beautiful? That is what has happened to us. Our awareness, which is very spiritual, it's the essence of everything. Your consciousness, whoa. Christ is not the only one that could say, my Father and I are one. Okay? Yogis merged into oneness. Buddha went to nirvana. That's what that means. They let go of themselves. They died to be reborn. You died of the personal thought world to be born into the spiritual, or to be born into the expansiveness of who you are. You're a very great being. You're not some little peon begging to be okay. Oh, don't talk to me that way. No, you know I don't like it. You like being like that? And so you wake up. It's called waking up. And you realize, what have I done? I'm the great consciousness of the universe focused on me. It is not so much fun, is it? Because the more you focus on you, the more the outside world has to match you. I don't like that. I like that. Oh, I like it a lot like that. Don't talk to me like that. You now have to manipulate and control the outside world to match what you made up in your mind. What you like and dislike, they're not holy. You made it up. You saw a movie. You had an experience. You were programmed to like that thing or not like that thing. By what? By the experience you had in your life. Well, what's wrong with having experiences? Nothing. What's wrong with owning them and saying, I want to have them again, or I never want to have them again, and the world better be exactly the way I want it to be, or I'll never be okay. I'll be so depressed. There's something a little wrong with that. What spirituality is about is getting out of that focus on yourself. Why? Because you're going to find out someday it's really not that much fun. It's not even much fun to get what you want. Why? Because you're afraid you're going to lose it. Or you'll find out later it's not exactly what you wanted. Does everything always turn out the way you want it to be? Answer me. Nothing ever turns out the way you want it to be. Nothing ever turns out the way you think it's going to be. Why? You made up how you want it to be based on your past experiences of what made you happy, what made you sad. You just made it up. That other person has nothing to do with you. They didn't have the same experiences of you over the course of your life. You've known them for 6 months, 3 months, 3 weeks, and you've decided they're like you. You say things like, I can't believe you did that. I would never have done that. Of course not. You didn't have the same experience as me. There's no way you think the same as me. No way. My husband and I are very close. My wife and I are very close. You want to bet? You want to bet that every single time he or she goes to work, they had different experiences than you did when you stayed home or went to your job? And that those experiences program them? All of a sudden, somebody goes to work and they tell you about this vacation they had in Hawaii. Oh my God, it was so special and beautiful, right? And they said it to your wife, and then their husband comes home and somebody told him how great Alaska was. You're going to have a fight. You don't understand. Hawaii's unbelievable. No, Alaska's unbelievable. All right, which one? Who is willing to listen? That's why relationships are so hard. Of course they're hard. You're trying to make the other person be you. You're not even trying to make it. You assume they are you. Why would you have married me if you don't be the way I think you should be, or the way I expected, or anything like that? Have you found out yet that they're not the way you expected? The only way you get along is, we kind of have a truce. We go to therapy a lot. Why? She just won't be the way I want her to be. He just won't do what I want him to do. As opposed to, here, we have a minute. Let's take 1 minute about a true relationship. I'm attracted to you for whatever reason, okay? I just feel close with you, and I love being with you. Can we hang out together, be together? Well, it depends. You're going to find out eventually that though you think I'm the same as you, I'm not. To which the other person says, yeah, I already saw that. I realize that. Well, what are we going to do about that in our relationship that we like having so much? What about if we say, I know you're not the same as me. You don't think the same as me because you've had totally different experiences. What if that's okay with me? What if I use your differences that aren't the way I expected to get rid of my expectations? In other words, to unconditionally love you. Unconditionally means not based on me. Unconditionally honor and respect your difference. It's just you've had different experiences. You understand that? And so basically you're going to think differently. And that's fine. And I am going to love you even if something inside of me is offended by those differences. I love you more. I'll cry. I love you more than I love my differences. Very rare. Because what you're trying to do is have the person be who you want them to be so you can be okay. If they're not, why am I hanging out with you? I'll go find somebody else. As opposed to, I want to get rid of this me, I, me, mine thing that's limiting my life to this little tiny little thing, okay? And I am going to use this relationship to help that happen. I'm not going to use the relationship to make you be like the way I want you to be. Then I don't change. I just fight with you to change. And that is called selfless love. That is called a very, very great thing, transcendental love. Really, the only way you get there is if there is a pole star, something you have experienced or looking for that's greater than yourself, such as God realization, such as understanding what I've discussed with you, who you really are in there, a very, very great being that's caught staring at yourself. Well, how about I want to spend the rest of my life ceasing to stare at myself. I can start by working with you. I can start with anything. Every moment of my life, I have the opportunity to let go of myself, don't I? The driver in front is not driving the way I want. Happens all the time. I like it. They teach it all the time that I have to eat it, all right? It's a 55-mile speed limit. They're going 25, and you can't pass. Can make you sit there and not say anything because no one's hearing him anyways. He just calls it himself and I do. I practice it. I practice playing with, I don't want to be like that, period. I'm right. It said 55. You're going 25. I'm right. Doesn't matter. That's what's happening. Be here now. And so you start dealing with this life that I teach you, which is called letting go of yourself. Why? For renunciation? No, don't renounce. To understand that part of you that's staring at you will never go anywhere. It will always have trouble with relationships. It will always have trouble with jobs. It will always have trouble with finances. Do you honestly think that billionaires have enough money? Oh my God, I lost 24 billion yesterday. What am I going to do? Give me a break. There's nothing is enough. It can't be enough. Why? Do you understand? Do you know nothing's enough? Have you caught on yet that nothing is enough and it will never be enough? For a moment it is, because you think, oh my God, this is going to work, till you find out it doesn't. Till you find out that something's different and blah, 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 blah. Okay? Why can't it work? Because you have taken the sum of your experiences, they have programmed your way of thinking, your way of emoting, your way of being, and you are now looking out at that world through that programming. And what you like and dislike and think is good and think is bad, and Democrat, Republican, whatever the heck it is just the sum of your learned experiences. Therefore, you think they're right. If I take data and I give it to a computer, the most brilliant computer could ever be, but I put limited data in it, it's going to come back with the same answer every single time. Why? It's taking the same data. So if the same data is put in your mind and you go there and ask what's right, it's going to say it, man, you'll be so sure. You have nothing else to go on. It's your frame of reference. It's your universal set. Is it the universal set? Of course not. All the other experiences you didn't have are part of the universal set, and they would have changed how you think. So eventually you catch on and say, there's a higher way to live. Don't give it a name. The higher way to here's a higher way to live. Not limit your consciousness to yourself. Why? Because there's a whole rest of a universe. You can expand the consciousness out to include everything and everybody. Believe me, life will be much easier. Well, how do you do that? You start with acceptance. What does that mean? I don't understand. How can I accept what I don't like? Because you understand why you don't like it. There are people, like I did 30 years prison work with murderers, rapists, whatever it is, right? And they still write me. I'm very close. I don't care what they did. Other people aren't that way. Why would you bother going to see those people that they can't contribute to society? What are you doing? How can you stand being around them? That's the sum of their learning experiences. I was lucky enough to have those guys be part of the sum of my learning experiences. You're going to think different. You have to get to the point where you transcend your thoughts, where you sit there and say, that's why I try to push this at you constantly, right? I understand that the way I think is because I've been programmed by my experiences. What's wrong with that? Nothing, other than it's rather limited. Your experiences are rather limited, aren't they? No, I had a lot of experiences compared to how many there were to have. At every given moment, there's 700 trillion experiences you didn't have. Who's willing to look at it that way? That's a spiritual being. That's a great being. So what you do is you sit there and say, I'm not there because I'm caught in my own focus on my own self. But I can see higher than that. I can peek. That there's a tear in the cosmic curtain. And I can work my way out. And you can. And that's called spiritual growth. How do you work your way out? By understanding how limited your consciousness has become by being focused on you. So yes, you can have a relationship and care more about that person than you care about yourself. That's very nice. But what if they do something that you really don't like? Can you transcend that? I mean, one of the guys that I used to visit in prison, I love him so much. We lost contact a long time ago, but I can't even think of him without crying, all right? When I first met him, he came to some meditation class I was having. And we're upstairs, and he was very big, not fat. He was like a linebacker, it's an NFL solid guy, big, real big, all right? And he tried to sit in a lotus position or half lotus position. He couldn't. It's too big. So he walked up to me after the class was over. I'll never forget. He just walked to me and says, "Ha, my name is Creature, and I'm an outlaw." Outlaws are a motorcycle gang. So I stuck my hand up and said, "Hi, I'm Mickey." That was how I met this guy named Creature. When it's all said and done, and this guy had murdered a lot of people, gang members, nothing makes it right, all right? But they found bodies and that, unrivaled gang members. They got just charged with 3 more murders. There was the whole thing going on. But he had reached a state within himself that he literally came to me and said, "I'm going to have to miss the class for a while because I have to go through all this stuff, run trial stuff and so on. But is not bothering me. In fact, I want to work through the karma that I laid out. This will give me an opportunity to work through what I've done in the past, and I want to do that. We chant a chant in the morning called the Srimad Gita. Some of you have come out and chanted it. It's about half hour long, whatever, from ancient scriptures. When he was locked up, and he got locked up in a solitude and a terrible, it's called the Rock out there. They took it down. It was so bad, the government, they could take it down. But he was locked in this kind of space. He chanted that chant, the 1,000 Names of God, and the Guru Gita, 3 of the ancient chants, every single day, twice, while it was in there. The guy was shining with light. He was the most beautiful thing. And in fact, we used to have childcare with the kids, all right? And sometimes who was running childcare would have them write to the inmates and have them write back, okay? And once somebody showed me something, and they showed me a beautiful letter that creature, his name is David, had written to the kids, very beautiful, or loving, open. And on the bottom, there was this circular sun, a drawing of sun, and around it was written, "Love, David, a creature of God." This guy was serious. He grew. You hear me? That man went through it. He needed to go through total transformation. Beautiful soul. That's who you are, no matter what you're going through, no matter what's happened to you. Every single thing that ever happened to you is an opportunity to let go of yourself. Is it easy? No. Is it worth it? Oh, yes. How would you like to wake up in the morning and know that not a single thing that can happen will bother you? Doesn't mean it won't be negative, doesn't mean it won't be troublesome, but it won't bother you. It's like a sport. How would you like to play a team, good NFL or a college team that was just as good as you? You look forward to that game, you hear me? You may win, you may lose, but it'll draw the best out of you. That's what life is. It's a sport. But you're busy saying, I don't want that to have happened. I can't believe you ran that play. I would have done real good if you didn't run that play. If you ran the one I thought you were going to run. You listen to me? And eventually you get to the point. You are here to liberate yourself, to reach these states we talked about, to liberate what? Your consciousness. What's wrong with my consciousness? Nothing. Consciousness is perfect, but it's focusing on something so small. Do your thoughts bother you sometimes? Then why are you focusing on them? Of all the thoughts in the universe, of all the things you can think about, why are you thinking about the person who left you 3 years ago? Why are you thinking about your divorce that was difficult? Come on, let go. And you catch on. I don't have to do that, but it's hard to let go. Things that bother you distract your consciousness. Things that really turn you on. You want to see them again. You love them so much. I can't wait to go back to that restaurant. You hear me? They distract your consciousness. So all of a sudden now your consciousness is caught on that. Oh my God, the diamond he gave me, look, it's 2 carats. I look at it all the time. Well, then you're missing the rest of the world. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I gave it to you. Is it worth it for your consciousness to become fixated on these little objects on this planet that's everything in the galaxy? And so I teach you, me, I don't know why, but I do know why. I taught him from way back when he was like 22, 23 years old, moved out here and said, I'm not going to live like this. That's why I moved out here. Really to be in solitude. I failed. All right. My mind always thinks about everything, about the galaxies. If I drive in my car, it thinks I'm scooting around this little planet, like the Mars rovers. I'm scooting around this little planet in this little machine. What a weird thing. I'm not going to be here very long, and no matter what happens, don't worry, it'll be over soon. But what's going to happen when you die? Who cares? I won't be here. I noticed there are people that I really loved that I knew in the past, professors, different people, and they don't live there anymore. Where do they live? I don't know. Do they still exist? Why would I answer you? What difference does it make? You'll find out. Wait, to rush to find out? That's ridiculous. You're born on a planet. You get yourself a body. Don't worry, you look old, all right? And you just go about your business enjoying your life. But how can I enjoy my life with something I didn't want to happen? Stop having things you don't want to happen. And then there won't be things you don't want to happen. There'll just be things that happen. That's what it means to liberate your consciousness. You work on honoring and respecting what took place and letting it go. Doesn't mean I don't remember it. You can bring it back, but it doesn't haunt you. It doesn't come back by itself. How would you like not have all that junk come back by itself all the time and affect your moods and emotions, all that kind of stuff? You are capable. You just have to start working at it. You just work at letting go. So the whole discussion was about consciousness, wasn't it? From beginning to end. You are a conscious being who's busy being conscious of the worst part of anything in the whole universe. What? That which bothered you in the past. Let's become conscious of that instead of becoming conscious of God or conscious of great thoughts or conscious of music or conscious of everything beautiful. No, I want to be conscious of everything that ever bothered me, and I want it to keep bothering me for the rest of my life. Great choice. Do I have to? No, you don't have to. You have to practice letting go. And when it's all said and done, I did the pratyahara, dharana, and dhyana. It's all letting go. It's all about releasing your consciousness from being trapped in staring at you. Thank you. I do thank you. Because every moment that you work on yourself like that, you change the world. Hear me? That's, you just bring an energy into this world that's way higher. Jagrative.
You've been listening to the Michael Singer Podcast, produced by Sounds True in partnership with Shanti Publications. For more information on Michael's body of work and all back episodes, please join us at michaelsingerpodcast.com. Thanks so much for listening. Sounds True, waking up the world.